T minus 60 seconds. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 5 Foot Viking podcast, where we get to drink a beer and learn something new. Today is going to be a little bit different because I dropped the ball. I thought I had somebody booked for this week, and unfortunately, I got my calendar mixed up and I didn't. So with that being said, I came up with a few things that we can do. But before we jump into everything, I wanted to let everybody know that if you wanted to watch any of the past podcasts that I've done with some guests, talking about solar, talking about real estate, talking about rocking out, talking about so many different subjects and so many different friends and guests that I've had on the show, you can always go to the 5footviking.com. It's scrolling across the bottom right now. If you're watching it, it's you can go to the 5footviking.com. You can watch the YouTube or the Facebook or the you can also listen to it on Spotify and Anchor and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and pretty much anywhere that podcasts are available. But yeah, you can go to the 5footviking.com. It's like a landing page where you can go anywhere. Also, in the description down below or above, there's a couple links in there to some of the tech that I use. I know that every week I get a couple messages here and there, like, "Hey, what microphone are you using, or what lights, or what interface and stuff like that." So there's a lot of good stuff down there for you guys. So like I said just a little while ago, I messed up. So it's been a rough couple weeks. If you guys, if you're not familiar with my schedule, I'm in school right now. So I guess I'd be considered a junior. I don't know how that works, but I'm attending Arizona State University online because I live in Huntington Beach. But I am trying to get my bachelor's degree, which is I'm 42, so I'm probably like the oldest dude in the class most of the time. But I like to call myself a seasoned student, not an old student. But it is it's been challenging. With I can understand people that are going to school that go to a class and I, to be honest, I missed that. I got my AA degree from Golden West Community College and in business, and I love being in the seats. I love being able to raise my hand, ask a question, the interaction. That's why I love this podcast. I love the interaction. So I do miss that, and I can't. It's a little difficult to pivot and do everything online. It's weird to try and ask questions and emails and stuff like that. So, here I am, 42, getting my degree. Yay. But I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm a fan of learning. That's another reason why I started this podcast, because I want to learn something new all the time. So, but yeah, so I'm in class. I've got 4 classes this semester. I'm ripping it up. And in one of my classes, I'm actually taking a marketing class, which is really cool. A lot of the stuff that I'm learning in this class, I can really apply to this podcast, and it's interesting learning the definitions to everything that I'm already kind of understanding, but now I'm learning the definitions to everything. So unfortunately, this class I'm just going to be real with you guys. I'm reading everything. I'm taking notes. I'm listening to the lectures, and I'm jumping into the quizzes, and I'm getting 100%, 100%, 100%. I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm so like I'm on cloud nine. I'm feeling really good about myself. I'm like, wow, I'm a good student. Then I take a test, and I got like 71% on the test, and I'm all, it's just such a burn that it's like a buzzkill. Like, and speaking of buzzkills, we're gonna get into the first segment right now, which is the beers of the week, because I unfortunately I didn't do so well on the test today. So, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm out there. I'm doing it. I feel like I'm learning something. So, to let you guys know what I am drinking today, I'm keeping it simple. And I think I've drank this before, but I really love this beer. It's called Buenaveza, and it's by Stone Brewing. And if anybody knows anybody at Stone, I would love a sponsorship because I will drink their beer online. But anyways, so it's been a rough couple weeks trying to keep everything together and keep everything organized. I don't know if anybody can relate to, having everything going everywhere, but I kind of messed up. So I didn't have a guest tonight. So put a couple things together. But before we get to that, if you have a beer at home, please comment. Let me know what you're drinking. Dad, I'm pretty sure I'm going to see a comment that you're drinking your vitamin water. I appreciate that. And Skol, everybody. Skol. Oh, yeah. So little underprepared today. Totally okay. Looking forward to still connecting with everybody right now. I've got a few comments. Let me jump into to see who's hanging out today. Yes, my pops, the first one. Hey, buddy, have to watch you later because I'm watching Beauty and the Beast with Mason. I love you, Dad. Have fun. That's pretty cool. I wish I was up there watching Beauty and the Beast with you guys too. David Schlitt here. I never want to miss your cool podcast. I appreciate that. I really, really do. It's I was struggling today with the thought of, do I do a podcast or do I not? And my struggle was I set a goal for myself that I wanted to give this a full 1 year at least, and just see where I'm landing after the year. 52 podcasts every week, make it happen. And so today I was kind of struggling with, hey, maybe I haven't promoted anything. Maybe I should just not do it. Maybe I should just take a week off and work on the next couple of weeks that I have some guests lined up and some fun stuff. And then I thought about, hey, if I get on here and what do I talk about? What do I, who's going to learn something new from me? It was a weird inner battle and kind of an outer battle that I definitely talk with my wife about everything. And she, she always steers me in the right direction, even though sometimes I might not think that it's the right direction. She always steers me in the right direction. And she says, babe, go with your gut. You're a smart guy. Get on there. Even if you make it happen, you set yourself a goal, do it. So here I am, ladies and gentlemen. Got a few more people up here. Mr. Schlitt, yes, I am a junior. Okay, I'm good to know that. I don't understand. I guess if you have your AA and then you're going into, I don't know what that's called, but I guess I'm in my third year technically. Never too late. You've got a different perspective than most of the students. That this much is very true, Brent. There's been times that I was in class and, I learned a lot growing up just from experience, especially when it comes to, because my major is called interdisciplinary studies, which is a combination of two focuses. And my two focuses are sales and marketing and communications. So when I was at Golden West and I was taking a lot of communications classes, there were times that they would be talking about a certain scenario. And I'm like, wow, yeah, I totally experienced that. I totally know how that's going. I know, but learning the definition to it was like, oh, okay, that's why that didn't work. Oh, that's why my wife yelled at me is because I did this, or so having a little bit more of those. I guess it's kind of opposite where most kids go to school, they learn all about the stuff, and then they go out into the real world and they experience it. I went out and experienced it and learned by trial and error, and then came back to school and learned the definitions to everything, which was pretty cool. So we got a couple people jumping on. I love this. Yes, Robin. C's get degrees. I love it. Yeah, that's been one of my mottos on a couple of my classes. That's for sure. Leslie, great to see you on here. Thank you for coming and thank you for stopping by. Alex, brother, Skull. Every time I see Alex, we got to throw up the arms. Appreciate you, man. Max is drinking a Mike's. I want to say it's a Mike's Hard Lemonade, and my wife is cheersing from the other room. We got Alberto. I'm drinking, I can't even pronounce that. Abraxas by Perennial Artesian Ales. Awesome. An imperial stout brewed with ancho chili. Oh my gosh, I can't even pronounce everything that you just had in there. That sounds interesting. I'm down to taste it next time. That sounds like a plan. And Ron, good to see you. Yes, indeed. I am a busy lad. That's true. But I will see you this Saturday when we're playing at the Fantasy Springs Casino, opening up for Led Zeppelin. We've got Anitra. I feel like, did you guys ever watch Romper Room? Was it Romper Room? When they were like looking through the glass and they're like, I see this person and this person. I love it. It's great. Kenny DeBaca. I'll be a guest. I'm huge on TikTok. Kenny DeBaca, I'm sure you are. And honestly, I really should talk with you about being a guest because you're an interesting dude, bro. And you've got a lot to say. So I'll connect with you after this. That's for sure. That's cool. We got a lot of people jumping on. I appreciate you guys being here. So I was before we jump into, I was talking a little bit about being in school and about why I'm so disorganized this week. It was because I was going through this. I'm trying to get through. I think I have like 3 more weeks left or 4 more weeks left. So I'm just gonna try and get through this and make it happen because I got a lot on my plate. But it's okay. I mean, it's a good problem to have, right? So with that being said, and I wanted to, and just finishing the beer segment, I wanted to ask you guys. If you guys have any beer suggestions. I know that, for me lately, I've been drinking a lot of the, here at the house, I've been drinking a lot of the Corona seltzers. I like them. I know some people don't like them, and that's okay. No big deal. I personally like them. I feel like I can drink a lot of them and have some fun with them. But I tried the Bud Light seltzers. I tried the White Claws and the Trulies and the, all the different seltzers that are out there. And to me personally, I like the Corona ones. But what I do like about this podcast is that we're always drinking a beer. So with that being said, if you guys have any suggestions for breweries or beers or something that is maybe something a little bit outside of the comfort zone, I've always enjoyed trying new beers, trying new things, new tastes, new stuff. So if you have any suggestions, please write them down in a comment. I guess Ron doesn't like, where is it? There it is. I don't think Ron likes the seltzers. My buddy Matt Dunbar. Wow, buddy. Miss you, man. Haven't seen me and Matt go back to 6th grade, bro, at Royal Oak Intermediate School. Seltzer, does your husband drink? Well, I knew I was going to open up that door. As soon as I said it, I knew everything was going to coming through. But yeah, I don't know. I like them. They're not bad. We got Norm. Norm's talking about Modelo. I like that. I'm definitely open to that. I don't know what this means. Avoiding the question about quiche. Okay. It was important. I didn't see it. I did not see it. I'm sorry. If I, let me see. Let me jump back up here. I think I did miss it. Every now and then I do miss a comment, what is this one? From Brittany. Oh, here we go. Do you brush your beard with a wide tooth comb or a thin tooth comb? That's an interesting question. Let me show you guys right now. I have this wooden comb, which is a wide tooth and I don't know, a thin tooth. But I got this one. I think my wife gave me this when she got me some beard oil and some beard butter that I was looking at. But yeah, the beard is coming down pretty fierce. It's getting there. But I usually use the wide tooth side. That's but I ran into so much trouble this past week. I go through this, and my wife can attest to this, that there's a lot of times that I change my mind on all kinds of stuff all the time. So I've been trying to grow this beard pretty long lately, and I have this. I found this picture. I'll put it up on my Instagram page, and you guys can vote on it. But I found this picture of a nice trim, nice short looking, nice beard, right? And I really feel like I want to chop it. I want to chop the beard, and I want to shape it really nice and have a good looking beard like that. But at the same time, every time I do that, a week later, I'm like, why did I do that? I shouldn't have done it, because then, in 4 months, I could have had this beard down to my waist. But so it's this inner question of, do I let the beard grow? And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I can grow a beard like that. I get 5 o'clock shadow at noon. So I can, this beard right here, I've already chopped it off once, and I've been growing it for about 6 months. So I feel like if I can make it through the summer, by my birthday, which is November, by my birthday, we're going to be looking at a pretty dominant Viking beard. So, please let me know in the comments down below, or on Instagram or on Facebook. Let me know what you guys think. Should I cut the beard? Should I keep it nice and short? Or should I just let it go and see what happens in the next 6 months? I think that would be kind of cool. So I got Norm is saying that ZZ Top. Yeah, that should definitely happen. So we got a couple suggestions. Here we go. Four Brothers Brewing in Huntington Beach. Oh, I don't know Four Brothers. I do know a one called Four Sons. I think that might be the one that Four Sons is a yeah. I love that place. Actually, there's more beers from them that I do want to try. Here's another one from Ron. Ron is saying, if I have time, I'll get you a sample pack of craft beers from Coachella Brewing Company this weekend. Oh, that would be awesome. And if I get those from you this weekend, I will drink those next week on the podcast. Coachella Brewing Company. I would love to take a look at that one. Albert is also saying, let it grow. Okay, I'm with that. I like that. Izzy said, real question, why is this podcast called 5 Foot Viking? That's actually a really good question. I appreciate that question. So to tell the story of how that happened, maybe about a year ago. It happened about a year ago when I was let me take this down. I was kind of getting into the whole podcasting realm, right? And because, with the shutdowns, being a professional musician, they kind of took my stage away. So I missed the interaction. So one of my good buddies, Edgar, has the Ed Namrock podcast. And I was hanging out, I was watching some of his stuff, and me and him were connecting a lot and talking about it. And I was watching a couple other podcasts, and a lot of them kind of just went by the name of the podcast, like the name of the person, that type, and then by the episode. And some of them have some catchy names. And I was like, the first time I tried it, I wanted to call it like Wit's World, or I wanted to call it the Wit Patrol podcast. But I did one podcast, and I'm like, you know what? Let me back away from this table and let me figure this thing out before I jump into it. So I started planning this podcast back in October of 2019. And I said, I want to give myself enough time to come up with a good marketing plan. I want to come up with a good a good plan of attack and have guests book. And I didn't want to just go live one day and just see what happens. I wanted to actually have a plan. So I was talking with my friends, one of my neighbors, Karen, and we always joked around. She always joked around because she's like 5'1" or something like that, and she's this Italian, and she's kept talking about how we were joking how she wanted to start a production company called like 5 Foot Mafia or something, and just talking because she's a little firecracker. So I thought about like the 5 Foot Viking. I thought about the 5 foot the 5 foot Spartan because I'm actually Greek, but it didn't roll off the tongue very well. So and I'm 5'6", so I thought about the 5'6" this or the under 6 foot that. And when we were hanging out talking and that came up, it kind of made sense. So I kept that on there, and that's kind of just where it stuck. I just thought it was kind of cool and kind of catchy, and it rolled off the tongue. So, that's how that started. So yeah. So thanks for the question. I appreciate that. That's pretty cool. So here's going to jump into one more segment right now that I do have some merchandise that I'm in the process of making. Now, a friend of mine, he made me this shirt with my logo on it, which is the 5 Foot Viking, and on a shield. It looks pretty cool. So he made me the shirt. I'm gonna be making some shirts and maybe some hoodies and a couple other little things here and there. But I wanted to ask you guys, what would you rock? What kind of merchandise would you guys rock? What kind of stuff would you like to see coming out of the 5 Foot Viking podcast? I kind of like the fact that my oh my gosh, what is this? Edgar is coming up with Witimus Petrellus Beardus Maximus. That's going to be the name of the podcast. Oh, that would be weird. I'll see if that can happen. But yeah, I like the fact that my logo is a circle. So the fact that my logo is a circle, I was thinking, definitely this is one thing. This is from a friend of mine from Turnbull's Tavern. If you guys can see this, this is it's a bottle opener magnet that goes up on your fridge, and it's round. So I'm imagining that logo on it. So if we can, I'm thinking that's probably a good idea. And then what else do you guys? What would you guys want to rock? What would you see? We got a t-shirt for sure. Okay. Freddie, hat, hoodie. Okay. I like that. I'm definitely looking into that. I know that the hoodies are I think people would totally dig that too. Yeah. I think I got a text message. Oh, there we go. What else do we got here? My wife, she says the 5 foot credit goes to Chris Knight because he calls his wife Karen Toady the 5 Foot Mafia. That's where the inspiration came from. Yeah, that was I remember those nights. Those were some fun ones. I like this one. Larry says a beer stein. That is a good that's a great idea. I was actually looking into something like this because I really love this mug. It's all wooden, but it's pretty dope. And then maybe, I don't know if I can get my my logo burned into it maybe or something. I think that would be pretty neat. All right, Kelly. Kelly wants some teas for some girls. Yes, I'll definitely be looking at that. Dad wants a drinking mug. Dad, you got to get back to watching the show with May. Don't leave her alone. And then Robert says a mask. Yeah, that's one thing that I got to look at that because if anybody's seen me around lately, I have this mask it's a bearded mask. It's like the regular mask come down, and the problem is when you have a long beard, you wear this regular mask, it puts a big crease in your beard right there. So I found these masks for bearded people. I'm not going to say guys because you have to be politically correct. So, but if you have a long beard, and I found these masks that literally like kind of drape down, and I was thinking, how cool would that be to get a 5 Foot Viking beard mask going up? I'm going to look into that as well. I like that. Kelly says keychains. Okay. Keychains would be good. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you guys have any ideas of any type of like interesting, unique merchandise, I was even thinking maybe some combs like this, some wooden combs, something along those lines. I'm not sure. So then moving forward, after the merch, please let me know what kind of merch you guys are into. Bottle openers, coasters, t-shirts, bandanas, maybe stuff like that. What's your vote? And then next thing I wanted to talk about was who do you want to see on the show? And I would say I've gone through and like I said, I started working on this project back in October. I started going through my network. I looked at my Facebook friends. I looked at my phone. I looked at my Instagram, and I started, having a career in music for 20 years. I met a lot of people in a lot of different, walks of life, and a lot of it interests me because I have friends who are owners of this or general managers of that, or started their own business, or professional surfers or professional this. So I was like, man, like that's so cool. I want to learn more about it. And that's really been the driving force behind the guests that I have on my podcast. Has been friends of mine that I'm so amazed at what they do for a living, or I'm amazed at a certain talent that they have. And I want to learn more about it. And if I want to learn more about it, maybe some people at home want to learn some more about it too. So that's really been the driving force behind it. But I wanted to reach out to everybody here that's watching. If you guys know anybody that you think would be a good fit for a guest on the podcast, please send me a personal message on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's someone that that would be really interesting to talk about. Maybe has a profession or has something like that. I think that would be super cool. Edgar says you need to have Tori from Dames and Games or a retired undercover police officer. All right. Well, that's very opposite right there. So, but it's funny. I actually did think about having, seeing if I could find an exotic dancer to have on my podcast. I don't know. I think that would be interesting because I'm actually really curious about how did they survive during 2020? I don't know if that might have to be like a rated R one or a rated PG-13 podcast, and we'll go from there. But an undercover police officer, that would be interesting to dive into that and see what we could talk about and what we can't. So there's a couple different things that come along with that. So there's who would you like to see on the show, but also what topics would you like to hear about? Because there might be, and this is something that I struggle with, because like I said at the beginning, I created this podcast because we can step away from we can push away from the table for a minute, because last year it just seemed like there was there was all kinds of political this and protests and violence and racism, and it seems like every time that I went on social media, you just got tired and just got like, oh my gosh, like I need to get away from this real quick. And that's why I made this podcast, so that we can drink a beer, we can talk about something fun and learn something new. The problem is I'm seeing so many, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of getting drawn into topics that are maybe a little bit more controversial. Like, and I'm not sure if I want to pull the trigger on having one of those podcasts. And let me know what you guys think, because what I do like is I like having a conversation. I like I like being able to ask questions, and I like being able to get real answers. And so I'm thinking, like, if I was to talk about something maybe a little bit more controversial, I'd want to talk with someone who's a professional in the field, or I don't want to just, because I'm not. So I don't want anybody to take my advice on whatever, on politics or anything like that. So I'm wondering if that's something that I should consider, or maybe I should hold off on that for a little bit. But I don't know. That's just like I said, this podcast is very much just getting your guys' opinion and figuring out if there's I'm asking questions. I'm having fun with it. So, if you guys think that if you think that my podcast is a platform that maybe we could have a conversation about politics. I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's something. Well, I know it's possible, but I don't know if it's something. If it's a road that I want to go down just yet. So I kind of like the whole drinking a beer thing. So, but at the same time, I've seen plenty of other podcasts that talk about politics, but they do it in such a way that it's a conversation, and they look at the good and bad from everything, and then everybody else can make their own decision based off of that. So I think that's pretty cool. I like this, Kelly. It's all possible. Beer is fun. Yes, it is. I like this. The Firehouse, Alex Magallon should be a great guest. That would be. Oh, I don't know if he could hang, man. He drinks a lot. Like he might not be able to last 30 minutes, which should be fun. But yeah, he would be a good guest. So I went down, as I was preparing for this podcast. It was just a last minute thing. And I went down and I actually looked up some questions, from that they say that they're like good questions to ask on podcast. And, I wrote down just a few of them just to kind of, I don't know. I figured I would answer them myself. And if you guys wanted to answer in the comments to the question as well, I'd love to hear your input. But one of them, let me see here. One of them was who has been the biggest influence in your life? And I was like, these are all like questions that were asked, that they said that these were good questions that were asked on a lot of podcasts. And that tripped me out, because who's the biggest influence in your life? I've had so many influences in my life. My parents, my people from church, my school teachers, so many different people. And then even after that, college and musicians and things like that. So I wouldn't know how to answer that question as far as like, who is your biggest influence? If anybody is out there, if anybody's listening to this, I'm curious, do you have an answer for that? Do you have an answer for who's the biggest influence in your life? Yeah, that's a pretty interesting one. Freddie, we're backing up just a little bit to some of the stuff. Freddie says, is cancel culture good for society? Are we as a country getting too sensitive? That is a great topic. And that's something that, because I have, and like I said, I created this podcast to talk about, learn something new and drink a beer. But one of the crazy things is that, like, when I have personal conversations with close friends of mine, we do talk about politics, and we do talk about religion, and we do talk about, and cancel culture has been something that has come up quite a bit, which is something that's kind of scary for no, I wouldn't say scary. I would say it's something that someone like myself needs to be very mindful of, because when you have a career like mine, who is dominantly promoting myself on social media, right now you have to watch what you say. You have to. It's difficult to. Here's the question: do you tell the absolute truth of how you feel about everything, or do you sugarcoat stuff? Because literally you make one left turn, my whole career could be shut down, and that's really scary how that can happen. So here's a question: are people that are that are on social media, and people in like these, I guess they're quote unquote influencers, are they telling the truth? Are they telling exactly what they really feel, or are they just being safe and playing it safe and saying what people want, what they think people want to hear? That would be a very interesting podcast. I'd probably get canceled right afterwards. I'd probably get canceled right after that one. Let me back up here. But that is a very, very good topic. Adam, how's it going, brother? What up, Wit? How's it going, brother? Just got out of having COVID. Still no taste or smell. That sucks. Well, brother, I'm just happy that you're safe and that you're good. No taste and no smell. That's no good. But glad that you're tuning in and glad that you're getting over it, my friend. I like this, Alberto. Biggest influence for sure is my grandmother. All my values come from her. I love that. That is awesome. Marlene, my mom, my grandma, you, and Daisy, biggest influences in my life. That's awesome. I appreciate you. Yeah, I can see a lot of where when I went to go visit Marlene's family in Mexico and met grandma, I can see where you got a lot of influence from. Definitely. We got a couple more people jumping in here. Oh, this is cool. I'm getting some good comments here. It's hard to keep up right now because most of the time I have somebody that I'm talking with, and occasionally when I get a chance to ask a question and then they're kind of talking about answering the question, it gives me a chance to kind of glance at the comments and go from there. Good one. Oh, I like this. Okay, good one. My daddy, yes, I think the world has become too sensitive. Yeah, I agree with you on that to a degree. I definitely think that it's this well, like I said, I don't want to get into there just yet, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of sensitivity going around. That's very much for sure. Oh, I like this one. Who's your favorite Knight brother? That would be from Chris Knight or Kevin Knight. I could not choose. They are both unique and fantastic in their own right. And if you guys don't know who I'm talking about, make sure you go on to Facebook or go to YouTube and look up Damage Inc. Metallica tribute band. Or if I'm not mistaken, you can go to damageinc.us, US. damageinc.us and check them out. They are just such a great band. Tone, good to see you on here. Thanks for jumping in. Edgar says, Whit Patrol has been my adult influence since 2006. Whit Patrol inspired me to chug beers. That is absolutely 100% a lie, but I appreciate you jumping on and saying that anyways, buddy. But that's you actually, Edgar can chug beers way faster than me. He can, by the time, it's ridiculous. If you need to go to his page and watch it. It's pretty amazing actually. But anyways, there's a couple questions that I saw in here that I thought were pretty interesting. And I like this one. This one says, how has your life been different than you imagined? And I think that you got to take that into context from like when you imagined it from, like, so like if you were a child imagining your life or maybe 10 years ago imagining your life, how is it different? I guess I would just say that one way that my life is very different than I imagined is that I don't have kids. And that was an interesting, that's a whole other podcast, but I'll give you guys the cliff notes is that, growing up in a very religious family, I never actively thought about having a family. I just assumed it would always happen. But then I never, out of high school, I kind of jumped into a band, jumped into a career, didn't really have any serious relationships. So I never went down that road. And then after years and years and years, and I just never found that right, relationship to make that happen. But it was weird because being a kid, I always imagined myself as a dad, white picket fence, that type of stuff. And I think maybe that's because there was a lot of, with my family and the religion that we were in, there was a lot of families. It's based around a lot of family. Right. And, but then when, not too long ago, me and Marlene, we talked a lot about it. It was like a years-long decision that we talked about. Should we start a family? Should we not? And we came to the decision for us that we're okay with being great uncles and aunts, and so we adopted a few puppies, and this is where we are living our life, which is I actually I'm very, very happy with it, but it's different than what I had imagined 30 years ago, which is it's pretty interesting. But to tell a family secret, I like this. What's your biggest goals for 2021? That is an interesting one. I'd have to sit down and I do have goals that I've written down from New Year's Eve, but I think it was the first podcast that I had. No, I'm sorry. It was the very second podcast that I had. I had Kathy Groover on the podcast, and we were talking about how to stay positive and optimistic in 2021 while goal setting. And that was a great podcast. Actually, if I actually need to go back and rewatch that, because there was Kathy Groover, she's just amazing. She's just I'm so blessed to have met her and to have her in our life. But there's I've always been big on goal setting, but with 2020 kind of just fucking everyone and really putting a dent in everybody's lives, and you're trying to stay positive. How do you stay positive moving forward? How do you stay positive about trying to make more money or pay your rent if you're trying to pay November's rent? I'm still trying to put a dent in November's rent. That was a really interesting podcast. So I have goals that I have for this podcast. I have goals for my music. I have goals for my relationship, and there's a lot that we could talk about. That I think that would be a good podcast too, is talking about another one about not really goal setting, but maybe accomplishing your goals and going through that. That'd be a good one. Edgar, I'm your parents. Yes, we are parents. We have puppies, and Robert, thank you for sharing with. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. I like this one, Kelly. I married my high school sweetheart. I planned on 2 babies, but I ended up with none. God had a plan, but I have my fur babies too. Grateful. I love that. And Kelly, how many fur babies do you have? Because we only wanted one and we ended up with like 18. So, and I'm just kidding. We have 2 pups and 2 cats, Motley and Crew and Daisy and Bowie. And if it was up to my wife, we would foster like 20 dogs, which that would be a rough one. Oh my gosh, Kelly, you have 5. That's awesome. Just a heads up, my wife is going to want to come visit. So that was an interesting question that I saw. And let me get one more, because there was a few of them up here, but let me just pick one. Let's see. Oh, I like this one. If you could interview anyone from your life, living or dead, but not a celebrity, who would it be and why? And I talked about this one just recently with my wife. I talked about this recently with my dad. I would interview my grandpa Andy. Grandpa Andy passed away just a few years ago. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he was 91 or 92. And Grandpa Andy was awesome. Grandpa Andy was super cool. Man, I really miss that guy. And he led such an interesting life, and I'm just going to give you the cliff notes of just how awesome this guy was. He made some mistakes and he made some victories, but he was in the Merchant Marines as a young kid. He was stationed over in Korea, if I'm not mistaken. He was also a raging alcoholic. He was a raging alcoholic back then. He told me stories of how he went so he went from the ship that he was stationed on to the mainland and would get schmammered, and then he'd wake up in his bed on the ship. And he even told me one night, he was like, you don't realize how difficult it is to get back on the ship. Like, you got to get into a line, you got to drive there, get in the line, you got to show them your orders, then you got to get on a boat, then you got to take the boat over to the ship, and then you got to show them your orders again, and then so he's like, I did all this like shit-faced. and he was that was an interesting part of his life. And then he got sober. and he rode motorcycles, and he was a skier, and he took pictures, and he just did a lot of cool stuff. Then he got sober, and he was sober for 50 years before he passed. He had the coins, and he went to the meetings, and he drank the coffee, but he had no problem with telling me the stories. And I would have loved to interview him on this podcast. That would have been so freaking cool, because one story that on his 91st birthday, I was hanging out with him, and everybody was kind of doing their own thing, and I just sat down next to Grandpa Andy, and I'm talking with him, and he goes, and I asked him, I said, Grandpa, what was your first car? I'm curious what your first car was. And he said, and he took a second, and he said, I can't remember what model it was, but I remember I paid $15 for it. And I thought that was I just thought that was really a really cool story. And he kind of told me about his first motorcycle that he got was a 1939 Indian Chief. I thought that got the picture of that. So anyways, that would be the person in my family that I would love to interview. That would have been great. Marlene would like to interview her mom. Yes. I'd like to interview your mom. That'd be great. I'd like to find out, how you got so crazy. I'm just kidding. I love you. But anyways, that was some interesting questions there. So, so you know what, guys, with that being said, I'm going to cut this podcast a little bit short. I wanted to make sure that I jump on here, say hi to everyone, and stay true to my goal of having 52 podcasts this week. Even if I don't have a guest this week, I appreciate your input. I appreciate you guys, your supporting and asking questions. And I'm going to go back through all these comments a little bit later, and really, see if I can. I like some of the topics and some of the guests and some of the merch ideas. So I'm definitely going to jump into this, and please stay tuned next week. I can't say who is the guest because I don't have 100% confirmation yet, but I'm hoping to have confirmation by tomorrow who my guest will be next week. And if he is available, it is going to be a really cool podcast to talk about. I'm just going to throw it out there. It'll be something to do with the 80s cruise that we play on all the time. So I'll leave that as a cliffhanger. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys jumping on here, and I think this is how you end it.